The American Civil Liberties Union, the ACLU, has filed a federal lawsuit in behalf of 3 different CIA detainees that were never charged with any crimes, but they were victims of torture. These accusing psychologist James Elmer Mitchell and John Bruce Jessen of orchestrating this program. They had a company that was paid $81 million to push the idea that torture should be the official policy in these cases of enhanced interrogation, post 9/11, for us to justify our actions and the CIA to get information from these individuals without charging them ever for a crime. One of them died under custody of the CIA of hypothermia after being subject of torture. The other 2 were released. They now live with their families. ACLU is looking for $75,000 at least in compensation for each one of them.
We're talking about victims of torture that were never charged with a crime and held at the hands of these 2 men who, who gave them the right to do this? My question is, is this, was there just little oversight? We hear about government contractors, kind of doing their own thing, and they're abroad, and there isn't a lot of accountability for their behavior. They can do what they want and get away with what they want. Or was it in fact state-sponsored torture, which is what the allegation is on the table for these 2? Big business in torturing. I hear their company got several million for doing this. And it reminds me of the Nazis. It reminds me of the Nazis. At what point, people who weren't necessarily, into everything the Nazis were doing, but were complicit, at what point does your own morality kick in and you go, maybe this is wrong? Even if our government is telling us it's okay and we should do it, all in the name of us being safe, what a bogus lie. But at what point do you think for these people does their own conscience kick in?
Well, the number of zeros in the checks have a lot to do with it. $81 million for these. Conscience goes out the window. Although one of these guys, James Elmer Mitchell, he gave an interview to Vice a few years ago where he accepted that he personally was engaged in waterboarding some of the suspects.
He admitted to it.
He admitted. He actually said that the technique was, we never get the information the first time. We waterboard first, we let them rest, we come back a second time, and when they're really afraid of what they already experienced, that's when we get the information. That's the thought process. And also, this is very, very scary. The idea that now they're claiming that they were actually whistleblowers within the system that they provided, and they actually were pushing forward as policy. They said, we were the very first to tell the government that they've been, there's some elements of the CIA that have incurred abuse and unauthorized techniques that were used on detainees. We're talking about an estimate of 105 people detained by CIA that were never charged and died under custody. These are big numbers. And the sad part is that no matter where you stand on the political spectrum, if you're from the right or you're from the left, I think like us, you don't want the US associated with the use of torture for any goal whatsoever. I think it's very important that if there is ground for this lawsuit to move forward, it should. But here's the flip side. This is not the first time this guy's been sued. First, not too long ago, last December, California civil rights attorney Stephen Jackman filed a false claims lawsuit, and his goal was to retrieve and recuperate those $81 million that they got paid. They failed. It's hard. It's hard to go after the CIA. They have a massive legal team that they will do every legal trick to delay the really important objective of this lawsuit, that is, make the CIA release official information that shows that this happened so we can prevent it from happening again.
Make the shadow government behave. Okay, so you lost me. You actually didn't lose me. It's hysterical to think that the torturers actually want to be on the right side of history and become the whistleblower. It doesn't work that way. What a crock of shit. I'm so glad you pointed that out. $81 million, do we know if it's taxpayer money?
It is. It is. I mean, it's hard because with the CIA, we might run into dark budgets, so they definitely have a bunch of money there that they don't have to explain how they expend it. So it's hard to know. Now, that's why these lawsuits are so important, because it forces through legal systems to these government agencies to share the information. But it will take maybe 5-10 years before we can actually get access to the documents that prove or deny the fact that the US government might have knowingly used torture techniques that are forbidden for many, many years in the world. So we want to know your opinion. Share your thoughts below and your opinion in the comment section. If you haven't, please subscribe to the Lip TV.